Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Jasmine. Today's video is a little bit of a fun one because I thought I'd take you through the 40 books that I read this year throughout 2023. And this is something, I was just sitting on my couch going through this actually on my phone notes, and I was just going through the books that I read this year, and I thought, why don't I take you guys through over here and run you through books that I read this year, books that I loved, books that I didn't love as much. So my initial plan for 2023 was to read 52 books, which is a little bit outrageous to me. That is so many books. That's a book a week, and I did soon learn that that was a little bit ambitious, and I ended up reading, like I said, 40 books, which I'm super happy with. It just worked out great for me. All 40 books were fiction, something I would like to work on next year. Not work on, but just expand on, is to read some non-fiction books. I do have my first book ready. It's The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So that'll be one of the first books I read in 2024. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. For 2023, I read 40 fiction books. I did do a little bit of, if I look down on my phone, it's just because I did a little bit of a summary. My most read authors, my first highest ranking author was Frida McFadden. I read 8 of her books, surprisingly, but also not surprisingly, because her books are really quick and easy to absorb. You're on the go or just want something that you know is going to keep you hooked. That's Frida McFadden's books. Those little cat hairs get stuck in my eyes and they get really in there. And then my second highest ranking author was Sarah J. Maas. I read 7 of her books. I'm actually technically on the 8th, so then I could have read all of Throne of Glass this year, but unfortunately that will not be happening because there's only 2 days left of the year, and this is a 1,000 page book. But I read the other 7 books in the Throne of Glass series this year. So I will run you through what books I read in general, but before I do that, I wanted to give you guys some tips, because I definitely was in a reading slump for a good chunk of the year. There was a few months where I just didn't pick up a book properly. Well, I picked up a book, but I just couldn't get into it and didn't finish a book. Yeah, just some tips that I have that help me out when I'm feeling that way is definitely to make it a bit of an experience and to make it cozy. So I like to put some lo-fi on the TV, and I like to, get in my PJs and get all cozy, have that whole experience happening, so that when I pick up my book and I'm reading, it's warm, it's snuggly, it's just a lovely vibe. Have some snacks, make a yummy drink, just give myself some time to be screen free, not think about anything else, and just be super present in whatever book I'm reading. So I think that helps me a lot. Also, having it a part of my daily routine. Every day I will have either a coffee or a matcha or some sort of drink in the morning, and when I'm having that, I really try hard to make sure that I'm also reading, so that way if it's only 10 or 15 minutes of my day that I'm reading, I'm still reading, and normally I want to go back to the book as well. So even when I didn't finish books in the month of, it was I think July and April, yes, April was the month I got Theodore, so no reading was really done there, because I was playing with him the whole time. And then July, I was just in a little bit of a slump, so I did read, but I didn't finish any books. They're the tips that I have, because I did have a DM from someone asking me tips for reading, and they would be the ones that I give. So now I'll run you guys through the books that I read in each month. So starting off with January, I read The Queen of Nothing and The Wicked King. They were by Holly Black, and I gave them 4 stars, but I went through, I think they're 4.5 stars for me now, because I keep thinking about these books nearly a year later. I'm obsessed with Carden and the whole world of Elfham, was it? Something like that. I think about them all the time, so they're getting bumped up to 4.5. Something that I forgot to mention in the whole tips for reading is you can actually find playlists on Spotify of the books that you're reading and be listening to that whilst you're reading it. I personally can't do that because I can't listen to music with words whilst I'm reading, but I like to listen to it when I'm not reading. So if I'm just cleaning the house, or just when I'm listening to music, I'll put the playlist on of the books that I'm reading. I always play the playlist for The Wicked King. I love it so much. So that's got a lot of Chase Atlantic in it, and I listen to it all the time. So they were both, I'm giving them 4.5 stars. And they also have The Throne of Glass and Assassin's Blade, the first 2 books in Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. The first 2 I gave 4 stars. In February, we've got 3 Frida McFadden books, who I gave all of these 4 stars as well. We've got The Housemaid, The Housemaid's Secret, and Never Lie. I read these books while I was in Japan because they were just really great to read on my Kindle while I was on the go, and they kept me really entertained as well. In March, I read Crown of Midnight and Air of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. Those ones were both 5-star reads for me. I remember really enjoying those. April, like I said, I didn't quite get through anything, but in May and June I did have some big reading months. So I read The Bridge Kingdom and The Traitor Queen by Danielle L. Jensen. I gave both of those 3.5 stars. And then I read The Happy Place by Emily Henry. That one was 4 stars. Harry Potter, 4 stars, the first installment of Harry Potter. Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas, 5 stars. November 9 by Colleen Hoover. That one was a 3-star read for me. Where the Crawdads Sing. That book blew my socks off. That was a 5-star read. I actually listened to it on Audible, and I even loved the narration of that. I had no idea. I've never seen the movie. Oh my gosh, I just loved that book so much. And Divergent. I read that, and that was a 4-star read for me. And then the month of June, I read Magnolia Parks, which I gave 4 stars. Insurgent, I read that half Audible, half the physical book. I gave that one 3 stars. I didn't enjoy that one as much. I read Haunting Adeline by H.L. Carlton, and that one was 4 stars. So I actually really enjoyed the first one in the Cat and Mouse Is It series. Really liked that first one. It is dark. It's like nothing I'd ever read before. My friend recommended it to me, but I enjoyed that compared to the second one. Oh my gosh, did not like the second. Fairy Encyclopedia by Heather Fawcett. I gave that one 4 stars. I really enjoyed that. That was a very whimsical read. Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas, 5 stars. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, 4.5, and Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, 4.5. And I reread Once Upon a Time, ready for A Curse of True Love, and I gave that one 5 stars. And then Coraline, which, you know, maybe compared to these books isn't a 5-star, but in my heart that one's a 5-star. So I didn't actually give it a rating or anything, because compared to these books it's not a 5-star. But yeah, I just love Coraline. My sister found me a copy of Coraline at the op shops one day, so she bought it for me, and yeah, that was my favourite childhood movie, so I just wanted to read the book. Hunting Adeline, that was a 2.5, could even be bumped down even further. I was excited for the second book, and it was just so violent and so graphic. They did give a trigger warning, but I feel like the whole book was basically just violence and there was no plot. I'll talk about that a bit later on when I'm talking about the worst books I read in 2023. The Inmate, I gave 2 stars, and The Locked Door, 3 stars. They're both by Frida McFadden as well. Book Lovers by Emily Henry, 3.5 stars. In September, I read Daisy Hates, 5 stars. Hotel 21, that one was by, I can't remember her name, I'll leave it on the screen. 4 stars, that one was for me. That book surprised me. In November, I read The Perfect Sun and One by One by Frida McFadden. Perfect Sun was 4 stars, One by One was 3 stars. Again, they were great books to read on my Kindle while I was traveling. I really enjoyed those. Even if they were 3 stars, a 3-star for me is still good. There's nothing inherently horrible with it. And then in December, I read Tower of Dawn, 5 stars. Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh, that one was 3.5 stars. The X by Frida McFadden was 3.5 stars. And I technically am 39.5 books in, because I still have to finish A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. Also, if my voice sounds funny, I've been really sick, so I'm still recovering. It's a little bit croaky, so my apologies for that. But how stunning is this book cover? I actually have all of the hard copies of this series, but 2 of them, the other 2 are with my friend, and I'm just obsessed. This book is also so whimsical and beautiful, so this will be probably a 5-star read if it's anything like the other books. I also love her Caravel series. I have all those books as well. They're beautiful. But they're all the books that I read this year, and I kind of wanted to run through the books that I gave exceptionally like 5 stars to, and then some of the ones that I didn't like. I thought I would talk about why. So maybe we'll start off with the ones that weren't 5 stars, the ones that I didn't enjoy as much. Not that they weren't 5 stars, but that they were like 1 or 2 stars, because then we can end on a happy note. My least 2 favourite books, like I mentioned, The Inmate by Frida McFadden, Hunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. So, The Inmate. I like all Frida McFadden books. It was still fast-paced and interesting to an extent, but I found that the main protagonist, her name was Brooke, she just was not portrayed in a great light, and it's like annoyingly dumb. You just wanted to scream some sense into her, and it didn't really seem plausible, her character. It just seemed really far-fetched, and so I didn't enjoy that aspect of it. The thriller aspect of it was just straight up bizarre. There's just so many coincidences in the plot that make zero sense, and the last final thriller aspect to it, like what's the word I'm thinking of? Plot twist, was so far-fetched that I like to, maybe not anticipate something, but this was unanticipated for a reason. It just made zero sense. It seemed like it couldn't even be possible. So that is the reason I gave that book 2.5 stars. It could be bumped down even as well. That was me being generous. And I still, Freddie McFadden doesn't have that many 5-star reads for me, but I just, like I said, I love that they're fast-paced, easy to read. I just know that I'm going to get something a little bit crazy. That's what I like about her. And that they're on Kindle Unlimited, so I know that I can read it on there as well. But The Inmate, yeah, I just wouldn't recommend. That is the reasoning for that. And then on to Hunting Adeline. That is the second book in the Cat and Mouse series, and like I said, I was definitely excited for it, but I was quickly not excited when the whole book was basically just rape and really heavy topics and things that I just don't think it was done tastefully, and I don't think it was done in a way that there was just kind of no plot to me in the end. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, and it was just, I don't even know how to describe it. I just didn't like it, really. That's all there is to it, isn't there? Lack of plot, essentially, and way too graphic and violent. And the first book was definitely graphic and violent, but she did a really great way of still having a plot that for me was still captivating. But the second book just did not have that, and it was almost offensive. Zane, is that his name? Zaid. The way that Zaid treated Addie, who is Adeline, that's her nickname, Addie, I just did not enjoy that interaction or relationship at all, and I ended up feeling really sorry for her. So anyway, negatives aside, we'll talk about the books that really stood out to me. I had multiple 5-star reads this year, but I'm going to talk about only maybe 2. One of my favourite books from this year was definitely Daisy Hates, and I do also have behind me, now this is a little bit annoying actually, not annoying, that's not the right word to use. What is annoying to me is the fact that I have different versions of this series, and I also have the first one that looks like this too, but there's different editions, and yeah, these covers match. This one doesn't. I have another one like this too, but I want to collect all of these ones because I just think that they are so pretty. This is the 3rd book in a series that I will be reading next month, but in terms of just Daisy Hates itself, this is the 2nd book in the Magnolia Parks universe, and this book really caught me off guard because I enjoyed Magnolia Parks. I gave it 4 stars, but this one was a 5-star read for me, and it's separated into 3 kind of point of views. You have Daisy, Julian, and Christian, and you kind of see why Daisy, well, you definitely see why Daisy is the way she is. She's a main character, but in the first book she kind of is just mentioned, and you see her in passing, and you see some of her actions that maybe might not be portrayed in the best light, but then in this book you see her reasoning, and it all comes together, and she lives this crazy life. It's kind of like a mafia story. Yeah, it's kind of like a mafia story, her whole family. I think that I actually resonated with Daisy in ways that I wouldn't have thought I would, considering we have completely separate ways of living, and plus she's like a 17-year-old girl. But I couldn't recommend this book anymore, and I think that the whole series, I've heard great things, so it's just going to keep getting better and better. And even though Magnolia Parks wasn't a 5-star read, I still thoroughly enjoyed this book. And again, how beautiful is that cover? I think the reason why it wasn't a 5-star for me was just parts of the plot felt a little bit drawn out, and I'm not as into toxic love triangles and drama. And that's not to say that this one didn't have it, but it was different. It was different. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to give too much away. Yeah, this was a 5-star read, and I cannot wait next month to read Daisy. Oh no, I'm on to Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home. Can't wait to read that one. I feel like I'm definitely losing my voice as well, which was already not really there, but from talking. So I'm sorry if it's very, very noticeable to you guys. But lastly, we have Empire of Storm and also Tower of Dawn, which for some reason I can't find Tower of Dawn. I can't see it in my outside little library or in my room, but it's somewhere. But pretend I'm holding Tower of Dawn right now. I mostly will be talking about Tower of Dawn because that is the one I just read. This one was the one before Tower of Dawn. So just that you have a visual, I just read this one. But this one was also 5 stars. And so was this one, and so was this one, and this one, and these two were 4. And I can't wait to finish this one. I thoroughly enjoyed Tower of Dawn. I feel like I was not sure what to expect because my best friend who got me onto Throne of Glass, she was like, oh my god, I went into Tower of Dawn not realizing that it's completely just 2 people's point of view. I don't know, I don't really want to wreck anything, so I don't want to say who, but it was just these only 2 people having their point of view, and one of them was not her favourite character. So she wasn't that into it, which I completely get, but for some reason the whole book just worked for me, even though one of the main characters is definitely not my favourite either. Oh no, is it 3 people's point of view? It's 3. But one of them you meet in that book, if that makes sense. But I couldn't rate that book any higher. I was so obsessed and so into that world, and where they went, because I can't find the actual copy of it, I don't have the map, but most of Tower of Dawn has, most of Throne of Glass has this map, but in Tower of Dawn we're introduced to a new map when they go, I think to the north they go, and it's a whole new kingdom, the whole new set of challenges. There's so many incredible scenes in that book. Was I crying? No, I didn't cry in that book, I cried in this one, but I just feel like I could visualize everything. I just feel like I was there, especially, this isn't giving anything away, but when there were the spiders, I'm trying to think of their names, big, hairy, scary spiders, I felt like I was there. That was scary. And yeah, I really enjoyed the character development though as well of certain characters throughout the series, and just seeing their point of view and seeing and tapping into their mind, because we do see their point of view in the other books, but having a whole book dedicated to this one particular person and then 2 other people, I just really enjoyed way more than what I thought I would. So yes, that was Tower of Dawn was a 5-star read for me. So was Empire of Storms, and how far am I into Kingdom of Ash? Not very far. Yeah, I'm about 50 pages in, but for some reason I didn't put a bookmark. Well, it's because I don't actually have a bookmark besides this one that I was given in like a book I got for Christmas. This is your sign, if you haven't read Throne of Glass or any Sarah J Maas books, to definitely pick them up, because seeing the way all of the worlds, because once I finish this book I've read everything, and seeing the way that all the books weave and connect is so magical. I am just obsessed, and I've been reading these books since the beginning of last year, so it's nearly been, by the time I finish this one, it will literally have been 2 years since I've read every book that she's ever written, because there is so many books. There's 8 books in Throne of Glass, 5, is there 5 in ACOTAR? Yeah, there must be 5, and then 2 in Crescent City, but there's another one coming out in Feb. So I will be finished this before February, and then I will have read all of her books. The found family as well in Throne of Glass, I didn't think I could become more obsessed with that found family feeling than I was in ACOTAR, but I definitely have that in Throne of Glass as well, which is really magical. That's a little summary of the books that I read this year. I hope this was okay for you to follow along. I was just, like I said, sitting on my couch and decided to film this, and I've never done a book video on my channel before, and I'm the type of person that I need to write things down to best explain it, so I hope that I did an okay job at explaining these things to you guys, and I hope that I may have convinced you to pick up a book or 2, or maybe set some reading goals for 2024, because I will be there with you reading away in 2024. I have some great books that I cannot wait to finish reading. I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek. So we've got Kingdom of Ash and The Power of Now, which is non-fiction, and then for Christmas my Liam's mum and mother-in-law, but we're not married, so I guess I can't refer to her as that technically. She gave me this book, Blood and Moonlight, and how stunning is this cover? She said she bought it because the cover reminded her of me, which is the sweetest thing ever. The synopsis on the back says that Katrin, an orphan girl, watches over its many spires with a unique magical skill that serves the sanctum's master architect. But when Katrin witnesses a murder, she's pulled into a dangerous chain of events. The only certainty is that the killer will strike again. The detective on the case is the brilliant Simon, whose uncanny insights into the mind of a predator are frighteningly accurate. As the grisly crimes continue, Katrin finds herself caught between killer and detective, but she's hiding her own secret, and it might be the only thing that saves her and those she loves from becoming the next victims. So I cannot wait to read this book, and they're my reads for January so far. We've got a lot to get through, but we can do it. But I'm going to end this here. I hope that you've had a wonderful 2023. I will hopefully have this video up, well, I guess tomorrow is New Year's Eve. So I will have this video up in the new year because I've got work tomorrow. But I'm wishing you all a wonderful New Year's, and thank you so much if you stayed this long and watched the entirety of this video. It means so much to me, and I'll see you in my next video.